The branches whipped against Major Vance's face, drawing thin lines of blood, but he didn't slow down. He kicked his black stallion harder, the spurs digging into the animal's flanks. Behind him, 10 men rode in a chaotic formation, their shouting drowning out the wind howling through the tall pines. "Keep moving! Don't let him reach the ridge. If he crosses the river, we lose him." Vance screamed, his voice raw with rage. They were chasing a man named Caleb Thorne, a nobody, a drifter who had shot a card cheat in Vance's saloon. It should have been easy, 12 men against one. They had tracked him for 3 days across the flatlands, laughing, drinking, treating it like a sport. But now, as they crossed the tree line into the dense, ancient forest known as the Blackwood, the laughter had died. The air here was different, colder, stagnant. The sunlight struggled to pierce the thick canopy, turning the afternoon into a premature twilight. Suddenly, the lead tracker, a man named Skinner, pulled his horse to a violent stop. The rest of the posse nearly crashed into him. "What is it, Skinner? Why are we stopping?" Vance barked, drawing his revolver. Skinner didn't answer. He was staring at the ground. "The trail—" "It's gone, Major," Skinner whispered, fear creeping into his tone. "His tracks. They just stopped. Right here in the mud. Impossible." Vance rode forward. It was true. The deep boot prints of the fleeing man simply vanished in the middle of a muddy clearing. It was as if Caleb Thorne had grown wings and flown away. The forest went silent. No birds, no crickets, just the heavy breathing of the horses. Then a sound, a sharp thwip, like a branch snapping under tension. Behind them, a rider named Dutch was suddenly yanked backward off his saddle. He didn't even have time to scream. A rope snare hidden in the canopy had caught him by the ankle and hoisted him 20 feet into the air. He dangled there, spinning, his gun falling to the mud with a dull thud. "Shoot him down! Someone cut him down!" Vance yelled, his horse rearing. The men fired wildly into the trees, bullets shredding leaves and bark, hitting nothing but wood. High above, hidden in the shadows of the branches, a pair of eyes watched them. Cold, calculating, unblinking. Caleb Thorne wasn't running anymore. He was hunting. Panic is a slow poison. It starts in the stomach and spreads to the fingers. 10 minutes had passed since Dutch was taken. The men were now dismounted, walking in a tight circle, guns pointed outward at the wall of trees. They couldn't see Dutch anymore, but they could hear the rope creaking in the wind. Major Vance wiped sweat from his forehead. "Listen to me," Vance hissed, trying to regain control. "He's one man, just one man with a rope. We fan out, we flush him out. Shoot at anything that moves." Skinner shook his head, his eyes wide. "You don't understand, Major." I looked at the tracks again before they vanished. He wasn't running, the stride length. He was walking. He was leading us here. Vance grabbed Skinner by the collar. "Shut your mouth, you're scaring the boys." But the fear was already there. As they pushed deeper into the brush, the forest seemed to close in around them. Fog began to roll in thick and grey, obscuring their vision beyond 5 yards. "Where is he? I heard something." One of the younger deputies stammered. Crack! A sound from the left. 3 men opened fire, unloading their revolvers into a bush. When the smoke cleared, they walked over. It wasn't Caleb. It was a deer carcass strung up on a wire to swing when triggered. A decoy. While they were reloading, a scream pierced the air from the right flank. They spun around. Another horse was riderless. On the ground lay a deputy, clutching his leg. A bear trap, rusted and hidden under a pile of leaves, had clamped shut on his shin. He was screaming in agony. "Help me! Get it off!" The men rushed to him, their formation breaking. That was the mistake Caleb was waiting for. From the mist, an arrow flew, silent, deadly. It struck the man standing guard in the throat. He fell without a sound, clutching the shaft. Vance saw the muzzle flash of a rifle. No, there was no flash. Caleb was using a bow. He was saving his bullets. He was dissecting them like a surgeon. "He's a ghost," shouted one of the men. "We have to go back." Vance struck the man with the butt of his gun. "No one goes back. We kill him or we die here." But as the fog thickened, even Vance began to realize the truth. They hadn't chased a rabbit into a hole. They had walked into a lion's den. Night fell like a hammer. The darkness in the Blackwood was absolute. The remaining 6 men had huddled back to back in a small clearing, lighting a fire that offered no warmth, only a target. They were exhausted, thirsty, and terrified. Every rustle of a leaf sounded like footsteps. Every gust of wind sounded like a voice. Major Vance sat staring into the flames, his knuckles white on his Winchester rifle. He realized now who Caleb Thorne was. He wasn't a drifter. He remembered the stories of a scout from the war, a man who could disappear into enemy lines and return with officers' scalps, a man who preferred the wild to civilization. We are not the law here, Vance thought. We are trespassers. Suddenly, a rock flew out of the darkness and hit the coffee pot, sending it clanging into the fire. The men jumped, 2 of them firing blindly into the dark. "Stop it! You're wasting ammo!" Vance roared. Then a voice came from the darkness. It seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. "Go home, Vance. Leave the horses, leave the guns. Walk away, and you live." The men looked at each other. The offer was tempting. "Stay here, you cowards," Vance yelled. "He's trying to separate us." But the psychological break had happened. 2 men, terrified beyond reason, dropped their rifles and ran towards where they thought the horses were. "Wait! Don't go out there alone." But they were gone. Moments later, the sounds of struggle drifted back to the campfire. Not gunshots, just the sounds of a physical fight, the breaking of bone. And then, silence. The firelight flickered. Vance looked at the 3 men left with him. They were shaking. They were broken. Then the fire exploded. Caleb had thrown a pouch of gunpowder into the flames. The sudden flash blinded them. In the confusion, a shadow dropped from the trees directly into the center of the camp. It was a blur of violence. A knife flashed in the firelight. 1 man went down, then another. Vance stumbled back, rubbing his eyes, swinging his rifle like a club. When his vision cleared, he was alone. The fire was dying. His men were on the ground, groaning or silent. And standing across the embers, holding a large Bowie knife dripping with blood, was Caleb Thorne. He didn't look like a man. He was covered in mud and leaves, his eyes reflecting the dying embers like a wolf. Major Vance raised his rifle, his hands trembling. He aimed at Caleb's chest. You devil!" Vance spat, blood trickling from his lip. "You think you've won? I'm still standing. I'm still the major of this county." Caleb didn't move. He didn't flinch. He just watched the barrel of the gun. "You're in the wrong county, Major," Caleb said, his voice like grinding stones. "Out here, the badge doesn't mean a thing. The trees don't care about your rank. The cold doesn't care about your money." Vance pulled the trigger. Click. A misfire. The forest dampness, or perhaps the mud from the ride, had jammed the mechanism. Vance stared at the gun in horror. He racked the lever frantically. Click. Caleb took a step forward. He didn't run. He walked. Slow. Deliberate. Vance threw the rifle down and reached for his sidearm, but his fingers were clumsy with fear. He fumbled the drawer. Caleb was there. He didn't stab the major. He grabbed Vance's wrist, twisting it until the revolver dropped into the mud. Caleb kicked Vance in the chest, sending him sprawling backwards against a pine tree. The major gasped for air, looking up at the towering figure looming over him. Caleb sheathed his knife. He picked up Vance's revolver, checked the cylinder, and emptied the bullets onto the ground one by one. Clink, clink, clink. "You wanted a hunt, Vance?" Caleb asked, leaning down close, his face inches from the major's. "Well, you got one, but you forgot the first rule. Never hunt something that is hungrier than you." Caleb stood up and turned his back on the major. "Go, run. If you make it to the river before dawn, you live. If you stop, I'll find you." Vance didn't wait. He didn't retrieve his gun. He scrambled to his feet, dignity forgotten, and ran into the dark, tripping over roots, tearing his clothes, crying like a child. Caleb Thorne watched him go. He picked up his bow from where he had stashed it. The forest went quiet again. The cricket started to chirp. The owl hooted. The intruder was gone. The balance was restored. Caleb faded back into the shadows of the Blackwood, invisible once more. Just a story to scare children. Just a ghost in the trees.